So this year there were a couple of films that came from Netflix that a lot of people consider to be some of the best of the year, and Marriage Story looked way too sad. So we watched Dolomite Is My Name instead, which I was actually very happy to get a chance to check out because I find the story of Dolomite kind of interesting, but I didn't know every part of it. Like, I did know that he kind of made these movies himself at a time when everyone was telling him not to, and I've always been a fan of movies about filmmaking, but not about like the big epic stuff. I've always been a fan of movies that are about the little guy going out there and trying to make a movie on their own, and that's kind of what this entire film was, but I had no idea how many layers there were to this. Although, I'm going to put an asterisk to it, even though this is technically a biopic, I have heard from many people who know the story of Dolomite that, yeah, they took a lot of liberties in this thing. But I'm okay with that. Because I've always said when you make a biopic, you need to change a lot of stuff when you actually decide to turn that into a film. You need to actually change a lot of things that actually happen, because a lot of things that happen in real life are not nearly as interesting as what you want to put in the movie. There's a lot of stuff that you should leave out. There's a lot of stuff that you should merge together in order to make it work more in terms of a story. And I can understand people coming in here and wagging a finger at other films that do that, but this film makes it clear to you early on, this movie is here to entertain. This movie is here to be an entertaining biopic. Not the accurate real story, but the good parts that you want to know, all placed in an order that makes it a really entertaining story. Like, part of me wants to compare this to The Disaster Artist that came out a few years ago, the one that was about the making of The Room.
Yeah, with Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people watched that film and said, yeah, this isn't actually what went down. They left a lot of parts out of this. And I do kind of have to wag a finger at that film a little bit, because I feel like that film, while it was trying to be entertaining, was also trying to come in here and go, and this is the true story of the making of The Room. This one, you never really get that sense that it's trying to be like, and this is the true story of Dolomite. No, this one feels like this is the fun story of Dolomite. It's like, yeah, it's a really fun story of Dolomite. But if even half the things that happen in real life happened in this film, it's still a really interesting story. And I'm still really glad they decided to make this. Now, you had like no experience with Dolomite before this.
No.
I had seen a few films. The only really like big name one that I had seen was The Human Tornado, which, interestingly enough, even though this movie is about the making of the Dolomite film, they do merge in there parts of Human Tornado. And I had to go back and look this up afterwards, because throughout this entire film, I kept looking at several scenes in this movie going, wait, hold on. Hold on. Like, I seriously was like tripping out at parts in this, like, that's not Dolomite, that's Human Tornado. Is it? Oh my God. Can I not tell the difference between different Dolomite movies? But for anybody out there who doesn't know, Rudy Raymore was a performer in the 1970s who he tried to be a musician, he tried to be like an MC.
Yeah, he tried to be like a stand-up comedian.
He tried to be like everything.
Everything, yeah,
This is a guy who he wanted to be something.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a name.
Yeah.
And one day, he just heard this guy like coming to the store. This homeless guy. Yeah, this homeless guy came in here and just started rambling on about Dolomite. And he's like, I don't know what the hell that guy's talking about, but he goes down and talks to his friends like, oh yeah, everybody, every single guy out there that hangs out in this area, they all got those old man stories. And they're all telling these old man jokes back and forth. And so he decides, really now? So he goes out there, like a pen and paper, and just like hides around the corner and just like listens to all these guys just trash talking each other and just starts stealing all of their lines. But doesn't just steal them, he then takes them and goes, all right, so now if I take this line and I morph it with this and combine it with that, I put the inflection on this. Like, he took stuff that he heard these guys saying, but he turned it into his own thing. And he turned that into his act. And he started calling himself Dolomite. And he started going around the entire country, and he started making his own records. And this does show you, yeah, he tried to submit this stuff, and people listened to it and went, this is filthy.
Yeah.
We're not going to put this out. Are you insane? So he started making his own albums. And there's so many good moments to this entire process that we get to watch in here. Like, there's a moment where he's making the albums, and they go, all right, put a warning label on there. Why? So that way people think it's some illegal shit and they really want to get their hands on. And yeah, it worked. Like, it's genius stuff. So he then starts going out across the entire country, going from place to place, performing in different clubs. And there's this really sweet moment in there in which he meets this other person, and she is down and out, and she doesn't know what she's doing with her life. And he comes in there and just gives him a speech about, hey man, if you don't like yourself, get up there on stage and be whoever you want to be. That's what I do. And I kept looking at that going, all right, in any other movie, this would be like the start of some romantic relationship, or this would be like the start of something that goes terribly wrong. No, this is just another person he wanted to help out, and he helped them out. And they stick around, they become his friend.
Yeah.
And they actually form like this really close friendship
Yeah,
throughout
what
the
was
film.
her name again?
Her name, I was smart enough to bring all this stuff up before we started recording. The character's name was Lady Reed.
Lady Reed.
But yeah, the two of them actually just form a really good friendship throughout this entire thing. And that's one thing that I have to applaud this film for right now, is that Eddie Murphy does a great job playing Rudy Ray Moore, but he's got an entire crew of people with him at all times throughout this movie. Thank you, phone. I would joke about how unprofessional it is to have your phone go off while you're trying to record a review. But considering the movie that we're talking about, making an unprofessional production seems really par for the course. I love that. I left my phone on specifically so that way I could look up these actors' names. And then my phone was like, you know what else I do, right? I take calls. So, yeah, what I was saying was he's got this entire crew with him. And they're all great characters who stick around with him throughout the entire thing. And every single one of them has, like, their own personality, their own, like, purpose for being on the team, I guess is the best way of putting that. And they all stick around throughout the entire thing, but they keep adding on to it. But it never felt like they were adding too many characters to this thing.
Yeah.
That's something that I absolutely love. Anytime they add a new character to this cast, they all felt like they had a very important role in this.
Like, he specifically said, okay, we need this guy to do this thing, and these guys to do these things, because you can't do this on your own.
Yeah, because he doesn't know anything about making movies. What happens is that he becomes famous by going out there and doing stand-up, and then one day they decide to go and see a movie, and it's the most boring movie they've ever seen, and people in the audience are laughing, and they're looking around like, what the hell are you guys laughing at?
What's with you white people? Like,
that's basically what it was. It was basically, yeah. It was basically them just going, like, they even stop and go, yeah, there were no black people in this movie. You notice that, too? Which, that leads to Rudy Ray Moore. He turns around, he has this moment where he looks up there at the projector playing, and he goes, I should be in these. I should be in these movies. I mean, hell, did you see that thing right there? That wasn't entertaining at all, and everybody was loving it. I can make an entertaining movie. I know what everybody likes, and it is so, man, it is so refreshing to see a movie where they're coming in here talking about how, yeah, you gotta make a movie, and it's not like, and I have to create art, and I have to put my vision out there, what everyone wants. He comes in here and just goes, I know what people like. They like guns, they like explosions, and they like breasts. That's what they want. They want all right there in front of your face. And it's kind of just, man, like I said, it's refreshing to see a movie where someone is just so unapologetically like, I know what people want, this. Like, just like a film where someone would come in here and just go, yeah, Michael Bay. Everybody wants like the Michael Bay equation in there.
like, well, there's a difference between, like, doing what you want, what you like, and like being like hoity-toity, like there's the hoity-toity.
He is not trying to be artsy.
No,
he is
like,
trying to go, I know what people like. And it's like, well, he has a point. People do like these things.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there's like two extremes when it comes to like movies. There's like the artsy-fartsy side, and then there's the complete sellout. Oh, we're only doing this to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. He doesn't want to come in here and make movies about guns, explosions, and boobs because he's like, well, I guess that's what people want, so I guess we're just going to make that. He wants to make these movies.
Yes.
He enjoys this stuff.
Yes.
Like, there's a moment in which he does go into a studio and he goes, well, we're working on something right now that we think that you would really enjoy. It's about someone who is the very first person in his family to go to college. And there's a small moment of a pause. Beat of a pause. brother, nobody wants to see that shit. I love that moment in there. Because, like, yeah, I'm sure that actually was probably, like, that's the kind of description that you would have for a movie that'd be like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a powerful film.
Yeah, but, like...
Nobody wants to see that shit.
Wasn't, like, the theater guy, like, what was he, like, the director?
Oh, God, I was saving on that guy, but let's go ahead and let's jump into it. We keep talking about how they keep adding different characters to this cast, how they keep adding more actors and more people to this equation. He needs someone to write this movie.
Writer, yes.
Because he doesn't know how to write a movie. So he goes to this playhouse, and they are performing this big, heartbreaking piece, and the entire audience is just engrossed in this emotional journey that's happening up there. And then after the movie, after the play, Rudy Ray Moore goes up to this guy and starts talking to him, and it's Keegan-Michael Key, which everybody in here is doing a great job. Keegan-Michael Key is here to be the professional smart guy. He's trying a little too hard because he's putting on this voice the entire time that he's putting on this voice, and it really sounds like a character that he's doing. Like, it doesn't sound like he's acting, it sounds like he's playing a character. It sounds like he's playing the smart guy in a Key and Peele skit, is what it sounds like.
I feel like he's, like, being, like... the character is too much of a stereotype while everyone else is kind of being goofy. Like, I don't know, it's like, I guess the Sam...
Oh, I mean, the cliche of the smart...
or like the professional, like, who thinks he knows better or something. Like, I don't know.
The professor is what he's trying to be. He's trying to be like a
he's
professor.
the Sam Eagle of the Muppets.
Yes! He is very Sam Eagle. He is 100% Sam Eagle in this thing. But yeah, he is absolutely Sam Eagle. But it does sound like... You look at that and you're just like, it's not because I know that you're Keegan-Michael Key. It's because you're trying so hard on this character that it doesn't feel real. But it is still a great contrast with Rudy Ray Moore, because there's moments where they're trying to write this script out, and Keegan-Michael Key's character is just there like, you told me that we were going to do something about this. All right, sure, go ahead and put that in there. But make sure that you put this in there as well. Okay, well, I really want to put in here something about challenging people and about challenging the status quo. Oh, yeah, we'll make the government the enemy, and they're like, okay, yeah, I can actually, like, Rudy Ray Moore would always give him just enough of something to keep pulling him along to make him be like, okay, I see how we can make this work. But then that guy would still have to compromise so much because he was like, I know what I'm making is trash. I know this is a terrible thing that I'm making. But wait, we're going to be talking about this thing? Well, I do kind of want to make a film where I talk about this thing in there. And okay, sure. Like, I want to make a film that's about female empowerment. Yeah, we're going to have a whole squad of ninja girls in there. Well, I guess that kind of works with... Well, like, you can tell he is trying to play along with this. He is trying to justify this thing that he is being forced to write. But as the movie goes along, you can see him, like, getting into it. Like, as it goes along, you can see him going from, I'm making absolute trash, to, well, I'm making absolute trash, but it has a point to it, to, yeah, okay, maybe it's trash, but it's fun trash, and you know what? Maybe Rudy's got a point. Maybe people do want to watch stuff about this. Like,
or at least up until the end, where, like... I don't know if I want to spoil this or not.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Like, he just, like, he gets, I got a better job at working at the theater.
No, you're thinking of someone else.
Oh, yes.
You're merging two characters.
Yes, there is another, like...
We gotta get to that guy,
yes, there's another hoity-toity person.
There's a moment that they get to a strip club, and they're still looking for, like, other people to add to this movie.
Yeah.
And they see Wesley Snipes, who he is playing... This guy who, he is a famous actor, he's been in other movies, but this is the kind of actor that he is. They go up to him and it's like, yeah, you were in this thing, and then Craig Robinson's character just goes, I know where I remember you from, Rosemary's Baby. He goes, yes, I was in Rosemary's Baby, yes, I was. Yeah, you were the elevator attendant in that film, like, didn't even have a name in that movie, but he's still acting like, yes, I'm the greatest actor. Like, I know this type of thing, and I know that.
The one with the ego, basically.
The ego, exactly, because Keegan-Michael Key's character, he's smart, but he doesn't have an ego.
No.
He is a very down-to-earth guy. This guy, his entire character is,
Like, he is the opposite of Keegan-Michael.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, like, you got someone who is, like, more... high class, but like classy, but also modest.
Yes.
Whereas you have someone else who's trashy but thinks they're hot shit.
Yes, exactly. This entire character's personality is summed up with this expression. Like just, I'm not going to touch that over there. Like, that's beneath me. That is his entire character. And I loved it. Wesley Snipes was going all in on this character. And I've never seen Wesley Snipes play this type of character. And he was so good in it. But yeah, again, like Keegan-Michael Key's character, you can tell he doesn't really like what he has to do, but he kind of gets into it. He starts loving it. Wesley Snipes' character doesn't like what he has to do, and he doesn't like it at all throughout any of this, and it made him a great addition to this cast. This is one of the best ensemble casts I've seen of anything this year.
Like, I felt like he was the only one who didn't like what he was doing. Like, everyone else
in all times he hated this.
Yeah.
Because there's even a moment in which they need people to run the cameras and stuff, and so he calls on these guys who work at a local college, these local students.
Yeah, like, literally, like, film students or, like, still in college or, like, just got out of college.
Yeah, and they're just doing this because they just want to make movies. And there's a moment in which one of those guys is even talking to Rudy Ray Moore, and he's just like, yeah, none of us have actually been getting paid for this for weeks now. You ran out of money, but we're still doing it. And you can tell it's because, like, yeah, man, we're making a movie. We kind of want to do this. But, we kind of do have to do other things to afford rent. And I love that. I love that moment there, which, again, those guys, they're way smaller characters, the film students. But even they're nice additions to this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But there's so many moments in there where you just get the sense of how in over his head Rudy Ray Moore is. Because he doesn't know what you have to do for any of this stuff. The moment in which Wesley Snipes' character brings on the film student and says, yes, well, you need people to do this and this and this. You can tell Rudy Ray Moore did not think any of this stuff out at all. Like he is making this up as he goes.
Like when he bought out the crack house to turn into a studio. Yeah. It's like there's no electricity. It's like, how are we gonna light the stage? It's like
that is a great moment in there. I'm not even gonna spoil that one, but yeah, there are so many moments in here, and that is the reason why you never look at Rudy Ray Moore's character in any kind of a negative way in this film. You never look at him in a negative way in this film, because even though he is getting these people into something that he knows nothing about, the moment he gets into a situation that he knows nothing about, he works his ass off to try and make it happen. Like when they get into the building and then they discover, oh, there's no electricity and we need electricity to run lights and cameras and everything else. How are we going to do this? It's not because Rudy Ray Moore didn't think about electricity, it's because he didn't have money left at this point for electricity, so he thinks of a way to get them electricity.
It's funny how you compare this to the Disaster Artist, because Tommy Wiseau and Rudy are completely different characters.
I just saw what you're saying, because Tommy Wiseau has all this money. And if there's a problem, just throw more money at it. You never know why he has any of this money, but he just has all this money. And so he never really has to work for anything. He kind of just brings these people on and just throws money at them, and it's like, all right, fine.
And he literally puts them through hell.
Yeah. And these guys, the people working on this Dolomite film, you can tell they're struggling, they're working, but they're still kind of having a good time.
They're still having fun, and even though
and that fun is infectious to the audience. You get into this. Watching this movie makes you go, I wish I was on that set. I wish I was there making this movie with those guys. But also, they don't have money. The way that Rudy Ray Moore is able to fund this thing, he tries to get funding from people, nobody will do it. Nobody will do it all. He has to go to his record label. The record label that, again, didn't want to hire him in the first place, he had to make his own success before they hired him. He then has to go to them and take out a loan. But it's not even a loan. It's an early payment for future work. And they tell him at one point in time, all right, we've already given you some money on this, and you need more money. If we give you this money now, if you can't pay us back, you will never be paid again. You will be working until the day you die for free for us. And he knows it. He knows that's his life if this fails. But he's still going to give it everything he's got. And that is why you like this guy in this film. That is why you root him on so much. He is trying his hardest. And yeah, you can tell a lot of times he is kind of dragging people into this crazy mess that he's got into, but he always takes the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Nobody else really has to suffer other than the film students work without being paid. But you can tell, when they say, we haven't been paid in weeks, he's not well, keep doing this for free. No. He's like, shit. You can just tell by the look on his face, that's on me that you haven't been getting paid for this. And you'll like that. You'll like that about his character. It shows maturity to him. For a guy who goes around just making dick and fart jokes all across the country, it shows so much maturity in him. But as we mentioned about the making of the film, it just looks so goddamn fun. It just looks so entertaining, everything that they go through.
Like, it kind of reminded me of, like, when I was in stage crew in, like, high school.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It totally has that feeling.
It definitely has that feeling. It's like, darn, I want to go back to that again. I had so much fun hanging out.
And this is one of those movies that makes you look at it and just go, well, why can't I do stuff like this? Because nobody in here is competent. And the only competent people in here end up getting put in situations where, like, well, I can't do, well, I guess I'm doing this now. Fine. Like, there was a great moment in there, which, by the way, we haven't mentioned. Wesley Snipes' character, he is an actor, and they're trying to get him for this film, and he says, no, this sounds like trash. I want no part of this. How do you feel about directing? Smash cut to, he is now working there as the director. It's like, again, it just shows you the ingenuity of Rudy Ray Moore. Like, I will say and do what has to be done in order to get this film made.
Like, it reminds me of that running joke. Is like, yeah, I like being an actor, but I've always wanted to direct.
That's not a joke. That's a thing.
It is, but it's like.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly in this moment.
It's a trope, basically.
But yeah, it's a trope. Yes. But for anybody who has seen any Rudy Ray Moore film, you will know one of the most famous elements of it is that he tries to put in there some kung fu action, some martial arts, and he can't do it at all. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff at all. He is one of the most hilariously bad martial artists in film history. And there was a moment in which they shoot a fight scene in here, and everybody is watching this terrible fight scene, just mouths agape. They don't know what's going on. And there was one of my favorite lines in the entire movie where Wesley Snipes turns to the guy holding the camera and just goes, is there any way that you could shoot that to make it look like he's actually hitting people? No.
Nope.
Cut. Just keep going. And then, like, they ask him afterwards, like, so we need to do another take? I don't know how we could possibly improve upon that. All right, yeah, everybody, yeah, like everybody applying, like, man, this is honestly one of my favorite films about filmmaking I've ever seen. It is so entertaining, and again, I have to bring it back to that. It's entertaining. I know there's gonna be a lot of people out there who are like, okay, well, if it's a biopic, it needs to be accurate, right? I have always kind of stood behind, you're allowed to warp a biopic as long as it stays true to the overall message of what happened.
Yeah.
To, like, as long as you don't, like, take a villain and make him a hero, or a hero and make him a villain.
Like, basically the heart of the story.
Exactly.
The heart of
you have to take the message, the importance of why this story should be told, and then you're kind of allowed to mess around with that however you want to make it an entertaining film. But there are still biopics that do that and then still come in here and are like, yeah, this is what really happened. I don't feel like this film is doing that at all. No. I feel like this film is coming in here and going, we're taking the important parts of this story and making them really entertaining. And man, this movie was entertaining.
Yes.
It was a little bit slow in the first half. Until they get to the point where they're actually making the movie, it felt sort of like a typical biopic.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're going through this, we're going through this, we're going through this, we're going through this. When it got to the filmmaking, that's when it gets to the, like, that's the star of this movie.
Yeah.
That's the thing you come to this movie for. And that's something else I gotta give this movie credit for. It is a biopic, but it is a biopic that knows when to end the movie.
Yes.
This is not a biopic in which, like, after the very first film, this film ends after they have made the first film. They don't then go into his second film, his third film. They don't then get into his later years when people don't want to hire him anymore.
Like
they don't talk about any, like, thing that might have happened behind the scenes with these guys. Like I said, I'm sure that these guys probably got into a fight at some point in time, because that happens in every biopic story. They didn't put that in this biopic story because that wouldn't be entertaining, and that wouldn't go along with the tone and the theme of this biopic film. They leave out all the stuff that should be left out to make this film entertaining, and they end it exactly when they should end it to make it entertaining. And the ending of this film is great. It is one of my favorite endings of any movie I've seen this year. I'm going to give this movie a 9. I'm almost going 9.5 on this.
Yeah, me too.
It is high up there for me. I'm going to stay with a 9 for now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like, not only is this entertaining, but it's like inspiring too. It's
exactly.
Like...
This movie makes you go, why am I not doing shit? Why am I not getting out there and actually trying something? Yeah, this movie makes you want to do something. So yeah, it's on Netflix, man. You don't even have to leave your house for this. Watch Dolomite is My Name. This movie is great. It's a Netflix film, so part of me is like, man, the Oscars are going to avoid this. But I feel like this is that film that if they avoid this year, there's gonna be some outcry. I feel like the people who like this film, they're gonna be pissed if like at least Eddie Murphy doesn't get a nomination. Like Eddie Murphy deserves a nomination on this one. But also, it's a movie about filmmaking. The Oscars love movies about filmmaking. So I feel like there's that part of the Academy right now that's just like, like it's that meme of the guy patting his head and there's the two buttons right there. Yeah, I love it.
It's like Netflix movie about filming. It's like...
Yeah, that's what this movie is. I love this thing. Go and see it. It's fantastic. Like, even with me telling you some of the exact lines in this movie, I promise you I did not take away from the impact of those lines.
Oh, no.
Because the actors in this movie delivered them better than I ever possibly could have, and they were set up to be delivered at the exact perfect times. This movie is great. Man, I'm bumping up to 9.5. I love this film. It's so good. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and tomorrow we'll be back with the Gauntlet of Garbage. And then we have one more Quest for the Best, and then after that, it'll be time to finally put together our best films of the year list. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.
Bye.